What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Grid Encore. I'm your host, Ben Schneider, joined as always by Brenden Queen. Brenden, how are you doing tonight?
Doing all right, Ben. Good to see you and everyone here with us on Grid Encore. Another Motor Monday, and I'm not going to fake you out because there's actually stuff in it.
I've got my Baja Blast ready to go here as well, and I will be saving that for the open segment because there is something that I'm very fired up about. But you're going to have to stay tuned for the middle of the show to get to that here. But before we get into any part of the show, as always, I want to give a shout out to our Patreon investors, Calvin, Michelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew. Thank you so much for continuing to support what we do here at the Grid Network. And if you like what you see tonight and want to join them in contributing to helping us try to build this motorsports media outlet up a little bit more, you can follow the link in the description box below to join our Patreon. Or if you'd rather make a one-time tip to us instead, you can visit our Buy Me a Coffee page or tip us on YouTube through Super Chat as well. Now, Brenden, I was at New Hampshire Motor Speedway on Saturday this weekend. It was the first time I've gone just as a fan, not doing any of the media obligations for Grid or for NASCAR since I went to Dover in 2018. And boy, am I glad I was there on Saturday. I wasn't there Sunday. I was at a Bruins preseason game last night against the Capitals. They lost pretty badly, so it doesn't affect me. I'm a Flyers fan, but my friends that were there at the game with me were not too upset about, or were much more upset about that than I was, I should say. Weren't too happy about that. I see you've got your Seattle Kraken hat on there, so it's getting time for that part of the sports season as well.
Tis.
Yes, it is. But I will tell you, on Saturday, being there, getting there early, getting to see the modified race, very early start at 9:15 a.m. No, we don't usually talk about the mods as much on this show as we do ARCA and some of the other regional series, but we have to talk about them this weekend. Number one, because New Hampshire is essentially their Daytona. It's the biggest race of the year for this series, and quite justifiably so. You're sharing the track with the Cup stars. You're at a mile oval. It almost races like a Daytona or Talladega. And being reminded, being able to watch the whole track and seeing the majority of the field almost together in one pack. Nobody can get away. The draft plays a massive effect there, and certainly played a role in Tyler Rypkema making a pass going into turn 3 on the final lap of the race. Branden, I know you just watched the finish back once again. Crazy last lap turn of events. Thought Justin Bonsignore, the modified legend, multiple-time champion, could be on his way to another championship again this year. Thought that he had the win in the bag, perhaps. Rypkema dove down into turn 3, came up, cleared him off of 4, and then tried to clear himself once again, put himself in the wall. Bonsignore even said post-race, I'm not sure why he wanted to go to Victory Lane Junct. Didn't think that the last second move there was necessarily something that he had to do, but still congratulated him nonetheless. It was a feel-good story, but he did win the race quite literally with 3 wheels. Branden, what was your reaction to seeing that finish?
It was quite literally he drove the wheels off the thing. Coming. Yeah. And I think you mentioned pre-show, just like JR, like what if for JR Hildebrand, if he were to win the 2011 Indianapolis 500 on 3 wheels.
That's what his car looked like when they towed it. They had to tow it back to Victory Lane, only with 3 wheels on it. Exactly.
And Rypkema just overpowered him. He kind of crossed him over on the outside into the inside through 3 and 4. And then Bonsignore was just kind of a passenger after that, just hugging the wall right behind him, and just, caught his right quarter panel, and was enough to put him up into the wall unintentionally, I'm sure, but it was just a spectacle coming to the line. Just the New Hampshire Motor Speedway and the Whelen Modified Tour is yet again just a match made in heaven. It seems like it was a great race, and I'm sure you had a great time, but a fantastic finish here for what is, I would consider it still the Daytona International Speedway for the Whelen Modified Tour, and then you pair that with Stafford Motor Speedway. It's a great or Stafford Speedway rather. It's a great combination.
Yeah, it was a great race, great finish. A little bit more attrition than I would have liked. So it was unfortunate. Several drivers getting caught up in incidents of various sorts, and felt really bad for Doug Coby. Good to see him back out there, but a last place finish. I might try to put something together for Brock on that, just because I was there at the track and got some photos of the back end of the grid. We'll see. I know I don't normally cover the series for him, and to be clear, I was not on site for Last Car this week. I was just going as a fan on Saturday, but got to see a great race nonetheless, and great finishing. Good to see Old Blue back in victory lane. That was great as well. And Rypkema certainly. I mean, he had the whole crowd on its feet. The entire last laps. Seeing if he could get the job done. So yeah, I mean, just a tremendous finish, and like I said, I feel like we say it every year on this show, but when the mods come to New Hampshire, they're going to put on a great race, and that's exactly what they did once again this weekend. Yeah,
I wish we could have them more around here in the Southeast. And when we say modifieds around here, I know in my heart it's not really the real thing. It's the funky looking stuff there. They just cause a lot of cautions around here when you see them. The Florida modifieds is kind of what I mean. That it's the wicked stepchild. It's not the real thing. I know what the real thing is. It's up in New England.
Yeah, man. Well, let me tell you, I've really had no excuse at this point. I've been back up here in New England for pretty much 2.5 years now, and going to college here as well. Never got to see, despite being relatively close to, Stafford and Seekonk and a couple of those other tracks up here in New England. Never got the chance to go to a modified race before, but getting to see the mods on Saturday was a real treat, and certainly encourage anybody in the New England area, especially. But if you're at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, maybe you just go to the Cup race on Sunday. Do the opposite of what I did. I was only able to go Saturday, obviously, but I encourage you to come out for Saturday too, because the mods, like I said, you're going to get treated to a great show, and
right.
That's really all there is to say about that. That was a fantastic finish. Congratulations to Tyler Rypkema on a job well done and getting that win, thoroughly deserved, and a great finish here. Let's see, do we have? Okay, sorry, I've got a comment in the chat here, but no, that might be spam there. I want to, yeah, we'll leave that be for now. I don't know if that was meant for us, but anyway, we'll move on now to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race that happened later that day, and once again. Not too much to say about the race winner this time. You've heard the story multiple times this year, 9 times actually. It's Heim time for the 9th time. Corey Heim pulling it into victory lane and tying Greg Biffle's record for most wins in a single season. He's still got multiple races left to go where he could maybe extend that. Obviously, the playoffs still very much underway here. We are now down to 8, and it was Jake Garcia and Chandler Smith who, unfortunately for them, will not be lifting the championship trophy at the end of the year. They have been eliminated, but as we've been saying all season, there's really only one guy who is far and away the best and most deserving driver of this championship in 2025, and that is a driver that parked it in victory lane once again. Yeah, Lane Riggs has been giving him a run for his money on occasion. He's proven that he's not unbeatable, and he's had a great season in his own right. Finished 3rd this weekend here, so once again another strong run. But at the same time, Brenden, I mean, what more can you say about Corey Heim at this point, tying Greg Biffle's record for most wins in a single season?
It's just embarrassing how good he is on the field. And yeah, Lane Riggs had the success there at Bristol, but so far it's still Corey Heim cleared to Avondale, Arizona. We'll see what happens on the way there, but totaling up 6 playoff stage wins, I can see here so far for Heim and Tricon. Just a fantastic group, and it is Heim time for the 9th time, and you can't say you didn't see it coming. I mean, and there's going to be more damage dealt here before we're done. I'd say maybe rack him up 11 before it's all said and done.
Yeah, and he could have 11 at this point. He could honestly probably have 13 or 14 with how well he's run this year. There have been plenty of times where he's been in the mix for the win and just hasn't been able to get a job done, or he's had something outside of his control ruin his chance at the victory. But obviously there have been 9 occasions this year. I guess really only 8 if we're being honest, because Daytona was Parker Kligerman crossing the line first, and we all know what happened after that, unfortunately. But he got a little bit of redemption at the Xfinity race at Daytona last month. But for Corey Heim, I mean, Joe says it perfectly here in the chat. Good to see you, Joe. Heim is just on another level. Amazing season, and I think it will be a shame if this season for Corey Heim does not end in the championship. But again, we all know what the format brings to the table at Phoenix. We know we don't know. We could see a catastrophic turn of events happen, and Corey Heim, he's got 69 points, I think, up already.
That's right.
On the rest of the field
to the good. Yep.
Yeah, so I would imagine that he is going to be safe, even with the chaos that the round of 8 could potentially provide here. I wouldn't, Brenden, like you said, I wouldn't count him out of parking in victory lane at least one time in the next 3 races for sure, maybe even more than that. We know, so we are almost positive Corey's going to be there. Would think Lane Riggs would be a favorite, and then there's going to be 2 others that have a shot. But really, like I said, far and away, the most deserving champion, I think, for this season. It's not like we can even say, well, if we had a big 3 there. No, this is Corey Heim's year, and hopefully, for the sake of the integrity of the sport, you all know how I feel about this playoff system. I have confidence that he can go get the job done at Phoenix, but I hope he does so that there's not any controversy after that.
Yeah, Jake Garcia, Chandler Smith out in the round of 10, currently below the cutoff line. You got Tyler Ankrum, Grant Enfinger, Raj Caruth, Caden Honeycutt, respectively. And Lane Riggs, the biggest chaser with those 22 to the good playoff points, points, and Daniel Hemrick there with just 1.
Yeah. Chandler Smith almost pulled off the Hail Mary victory that he needed. Obviously, it'd been a very rough start to his round of 10, but just one more spot. If he could have found a way to run down Corey Heim, he would be advancing in the next round, but wasn't able to do so. Had to settle for second, and as such was eliminated. And Jake Garcia, you see him down there in 16th. He was in a very similar situation, basically needed to win the race, and obviously wasn't in contention for that. So his season, in terms of a championship fight, comes to an end here as well. All right. Now, I am not particularly excited to talk about this next subject here, but I think, unfortunately, it's time. And you know me, if we have to be honest, open, and objective here on this show about how things are going. And I think you'll know why I'm not particularly excited if you know one of the other shows that I am a frequent regular contributor to at this network. But I think it's time to have a conversation about Toni Breidinger. You see her down there in 25th place in the results this weekend. She was caught up in an incident with Thor Sport Trucks, Ben Rhodes, and Matt Crafton. So Crafton's farewell season continuing to not go the way he would have liked either. Very hard hits for Breidinger, especially there. But Brenden, I have to say, being there at the track this weekend, I couldn't help but notice, being able to watch the entire field throughout the entire race, just how dominant Corey Heim has been this year in a Tricon truck, how unbeatable he has looked at times, even though he hasn't been completely unbeatable. He's certainly looked unbeatable, and he was unbeatable on Saturday. And then at the opposite end of the field, almost, quite literally in the point standings, with Frankie Muniz now being injured and his full-time season coming to an end. In terms of the full-time drivers in the series, Tricon bookending the field because Toni Breidinger is last among full-time drivers and only has, I believe, 2 top 20 finishes on the season driving the same equipment that Corey Heim is driving. So, Brenden, I'll go to you first here. What are your thoughts on the season that Toni Breidinger has had? I know obviously hasn't been the season that anybody's been hoping for. And what do you think her game plan should be going into 2026?
It has not been ideal. The 4 DNFs, which is, not too bad, is, all things considered. But
sure.
Yeah, when keeping it clean, it's really hard to keep it clean in the Craftsman Truck Series. We know that. So I think the positive note would be that keeping that number as low as it is for Toni. But yeah, like the bad news is, like you said, just being the lowest among full-time truck drivers. That's not where you want to be. That's not where Tricon wants to be. That's not where Canes wants to be, or anyone else that is backing Toni Breidinger's efforts. So yeah, going into 2026, it would just be it depends on what the money situation looks like with the sponsors. It might be an ultimatum year like we saw with Haley Deegan, and if things don't turn around at the midpoint of the season, we might see a driver switch. I would hope that not be the case. I was hoping for this to be the turnaround year this year. I had high hopes. We had high hopes on this show, Ben, from the get-go. And I know Women in Motorsport, we always are highlighting the successes of ladies all across the board, but I think I'm afraid 2026 might be one of those ultimatum years where it's go or go home. Show us what you got.
Yeah, and Brenden, I'm not bringing this up on the show tonight because I don't like Tony Breidinger. I actually really like Tony Breidinger, and I want her to succeed. And I will tell you that, it was not that long ago, only 2 years ago, where I wrote an op-ed for Brock's website saying, we should be talking more about how much she had improved. Because, I remember 2021, 2022 watching those ARCA races, and it was the same sort of deal. When you're driving a Venturini car, Venturini is, one of the top teams, if not the top team. And, you can throw the Gibbs 18 in there, but I really consider that a cup team, stealing wins and messing around in a much lower division where there's, the competition isn't nearly what Gibbs's competition needs to be. When we talk about like full-time, powerhouse teams in that series, you think of Venturini Motorsports, and, it was tough seeing her, finish races multiple laps down and struggle to even so much as get top 10s in short 20-car fields. But then in 2023, she turned it around. She started getting some top 5s, even got a third-place finish at Phoenix, or at Kansas, rather, excuse me. But had a great run at Phoenix going at the start of the season, I meant to say, and also, ran into some trouble there, had an unfortunate incident take her out. But that was kind of the first sign to me that she had taken that step forward. And she did get an opportunity to run 3 truck races with Tricon in 2023, and she finished 15th at Kansas in her debut. Actually broke Haley Deegan's record for best finish by a female driver in their Truck Series debut, and then followed it up with a 17th at Nashville just a few weeks after that. But would you believe this, Brenden? Those 2 races are still her 2 best finishes in the series, her first and third start. I mentioned she's got 2 top 20s this year. It was an 18th at Rockingham and a 20th Kansas, which I suppose is arguably her best track based on her Truck Series and her ARCA results as well. But, that's more what I don't get, looking at these results here, because I look at the progress that she made throughout 2023 and would hope that at this point in her career it would be a continued trend upward. We simply haven't seen that this year. So again, I would like to see her be put in a position where she can succeed. I know she has a lot of, and you have to give her credit for the business side of her career and what she's been able to build with her sponsors.
Absolutely, yeah.
So on that note, Brenden, I know you were bringing that up as well. I don't think that's going to be the problem for her. I think she's got a lot of partners that are with her and committed to her that want to see her succeed in this sport as well. And Toyota is among them.
Toyota. I don't think Toyota would do without her. I think they're going to find a way to keep her somewhere.
Yeah, and you see her in their commercials and marketing and everything. Like
she's a staple.
It's not like she's just driving one of their trucks but doesn't have like the factory support or anything. She is with a team that, as we said, this is the 9th time this year that we've been talking about Corey Heim as a race winner. This is unequivocally a top team in the series. Capable of competing for wins and championships. And I'm not saying that she needs to compete for a championship. I'm not saying she needs to be Corey Heim right now, but could you be Gio Ruggiero, who had a great run this weekend, 4th place? Could you be, where Tanner Gray's been running right now, in or around the top 15 about as often as not? Could you be running where the part-time drivers in the number 1 truck can run when they get in that truck? Obviously, it's been a rotation of drivers, so I don't know quite where that truck sits in the owner standings right now, but I'm not saying I need to see wins or even top 5s on a regular basis, but I need to be seeing, top 20s. I need to be seeing something better.
Exactly.
And I know that this was a tough situation with the accident. Again, the FS1 coverage, as usual, from what I hear, was not great. Obviously, I was at the track this weekend, but they didn't have a very good replay of the incident. It looked like those 3 trucks just kind of all entered the corner at the same time, and there wasn't really space, and they all slid up the track, and that was the end of it. But again, when you're driving equipment such as what we have here with Tricon, then 2 top 20s through, what are we at now, 21 races into the season, it's simply not good enough, and something I think has to change heading into next year, because whatever the status quo is for that number 5 team right now, especially when you compare it to what the 11 truck is doing, it's simply not working.
Yeah, but it's such a top-heavy season to be coming down on individual drivers. I mean, we're looking at 2025. We're looking at a year that's just so unprecedented with, in quite a long while anyway, but in my memory of Corey Heim and his dominance with these 9 wins. It's just been in stomping fashion, as you know, as a matter of fact. It's not the amount of wins, it's just the way that he's done it at so many different venues. And it's so easy to just look at the rest of the field, and we see a good run from Gio and think, wow, that's a, and any other season that would be even less of an impressive feat. So going back to Tony Breidinger, she's got a really tough year to be criticized as well, because it's just in all of motorsport we've seen all facets of it, just how dominant 2025 has been, and Corey Heim has played that role, her own teammate here in the Truck Series. But I'm also puzzled too, Ben. You talked about 2023, the showing those signs of progress, and then 2024 getting sort of a stall. I really wonder what was going on to make that lull. Maybe something behind the scenes, maybe something on the crew. Level of confidence. I don't, there's a number of facets that go into that sort of thing, but that's just a very kind of a rare sort of drop. You would think that sort of trend would continue with her.
Yeah, well, and you bring up last year, Brandon, as well. She was fourth in the ARCA standings, but again, the caveat to that is, and you bring up the dominance, of, we see it with Brenden Queen right now in ARCA. We see it with Corey and the trucks, and we're seeing it with Connor Zilch and Xfinity. It feels like we hardly have anything new to talk about on a weekly basis because it's so frequently been those drivers.
Corey Heim has been single-handedly stomping the show.
Yeah.
and as well as 88 back here.
Yeah. But again, just going back to last year, William Sawalich, I'm just trying to pull the standings back up here. Let's see, 3, 5, 7, 8. Yeah, so 9 wins for Sawalich last year and 5 for Connor Zilch, who weren't full-time in ARCA in 2024. So that was 14 of your 20 races right there. We mentioned on the show last year, no full-time drivers won a race, but Chris Wright, and I mean, goodness knows how much criticism Chris Wright's come under this year, and he's now not even with his Xfinity team, and his whole team is out of the series.
Right.
Based on what happened this year. Chris Wright was third in the standings last year. Chris Wright had, 8 top 5 finishes. Tony Breidinger had a good amount of top 10. She was in the top 10 as often as not, but never quite cracked the top 5, at least in a national series race. She did get a 4th place finish in the East race at Flat Rock. But, and again, comparing that to 2023, even that was a little bit of a step down. And then you look at what she's done in the Truck Series this year, which is admittedly a step up. I wasn't expecting top 10s or even, top 15s on a regular basis out of the gate, but you would hope that you would see some progression as the season goes on, running more races, with the Truck Series schedule. And it just hasn't been there. And that's been very frustrating to see. Yeah. So we'll leave it there. Obviously, hoping that it can turn around for Tony in some capacity. She's got 4 more races left this season, and I think it is going to be interesting because there's always that conundrum in this sport. Money and talent are 2 different things. You need a little bit of both to succeed in this sport. We know Tony certainly has a lot of sponsorship, and I don't want to give the impression that she doesn't have talent because I've seen what she has done on occasion in the ARCA series and taken those steps forward. And I'd like to believe that there's a way that she can be running closer towards the front of these races here. But again, it's gotten pretty difficult to ignore, especially in light of her teammate Corey Heim's performance this year. And again, that's been tough to see, but we hope it turns around for her, and we'll see where she ends up in 2026. All right. So that's going to do it for our Truck Series recap. We're going to come back to ARCA and F2 a little bit later, but first, let's have a little bit of an open discussion. I think a lot of people are excited for a new video game coming out in a few weeks, NASCAR 25. We finally got our first looks at the trailers and the gameplay. Signs seem to be pretty positive here. Admittedly, the bar is incredibly low from where NASCAR 21 Ignition left it. But we did get word this week, some disappointing news for a lot of players and prospective customers, myself included. Steve Myers, an iRacing executive vice president over there, he said you're pre-orders are now available, and you can go to the website, go online, go to your Xbox or PlayStation stores, and pre-order the game. And when pressed in the replies over when the physical pre-orders would be going live, Myers said, well, actually, it's digital only. So, Brandon, I certainly have some thoughts on this. I wanted to bring it up on the show tonight as somebody who has been very vocal about physical media in the past. But what are your thoughts on getting the confirmation from iRacing this week that there will not be, at least at launch, we'll see if they change their minds here with fans speaking up about it. But what's your reaction to the news that it's digital exclusive for NASCAR 25?
Well, I'm not too much of a fan of, if someone really wants a physical copy of this game on whatever platform they have, then I'm not too big of a fan of that. Now, at launch, I'm fine with it. I mean, I understand what the gaming industry is like now, where that's just the norm. That's how, we do things nowadays. It's a digital release only. I mean, I don't see any physical copies of Formula One games the past however many number of years.
I've got them.
You have them? Okay,
yep.
So they're making them. Okay.
They are, but they're not. Well, I'll get back to that in a second. But we'll
get there.
For that series, yes.
Okay. Well, maybe with the collector's edition or for the Champions edition, whatever they want to do, maybe they can make a physical copy. But I guess that I don't know if there's it certainly can't be a cost-cutting measure, can it? I mean, there's.
I can't imagine.
No, I mean they've got a bunch of budget, I'm sure, from the iRacing studios to do whatever they want with the official NASCAR license and all. But I mean, I'm looking as far as the game itself, the positive reviews from drivers and folks in the industry. It sounds like you're in for the best product since EA has had their hands on it easily, and certainly the most authentic console game as far as true to life, because they're taking the scans straight from the service onto this. I mean, they had the easiest blueprint to start out with because they've been doing this for so long. So really excited on that front. But as far as not having the box, yeah, as a collector, I could see that being an irk. And if you're able to get it with Formula One for a few years ago, I can see that being an irk too. But so how far ago or how recent do you have a Formula One box?
F1 25.
25. So they're putting them out. Okay.
They are.
So then I stand corrected. This is something that can be done.
But you're not entirely wrong. I'm glad you brought up the F1 games, because there is also a game called F1 Manager, which is a standalone series where you basically get to play the role of a team principal. And I will tell you, I bought F1 Manager 22. I bought F1 Manager 23. I did not buy F1 Manager 24 because, and some people can correct me if I'm wrong. I would be glad to be proven wrong if there's been a physical release that I haven't been aware of. But to my knowledge, F1 Manager 23 was the last time that series got a physical release. And that's the last time I bought the game. I'm just, it was a game that I kind of played on the side. I wasn't super into it, but I'm a motorsports fan. I collect racing games. I was happy to have them on my shelf, but it wasn't enough of a draw for me to make a digital only purchase there. And I'm trying to think of other examples. I think the sprint car, like Tony Stewart's sprint car racing or whatever that game was that came out. I'm not talking about the SRX game. There was a different game before that was originally only. I think that one I might have actually. So this will tell you how dedicated I am. I think I might have actually bought that one digital when it first came out, and then I saw a physical release a couple months later, and I bought the disc anyway because I wanted it on my shelf, even though I owned the digital rights to it. But that's the thing. That's why I get so vocal about this and speak up about this. And it's not just video games; it's movies and TV shows as well. When you purchase something digitally, you're not really buying a copy of the game or the film or the TV series season or whatever. You're really just buying a license to stream it at any time you want. And we've seen this in the past too. There was a controversy with PlayStation, and I think it was Warner Brothers Discovery that they weren't going to be able to come to a deal to renew once the year flipped over from 23 to 24, and they basically sent out a a message to their subscribers saying, hey, we're sorry, but if you purchase digital content, you're not going to have access to it after the new year. And then there was enough backlash that they found a deal at the 11th hour. But this is the thing, man. This cannot become the norm. I know, Brandon, you said it's becoming the norm. This cannot become the norm, especially for the first release of an officially licensed video game in 4 years for a mainstream sport in this country. Like if this were, a cheap $10 or $20 game with a very niche audience, you're not going to sell that many copies. It's not going to be very widespread. Then like, I get it. And then maybe if the game outperforms expectations, maybe you offer a physical release later, like I was saying, but for games like that, maybe there is, cost-effective measure there. Maybe it makes more sense to make the game something that you can only buy digitally online. But for something as mainline and mainstream as this, I see this as yet another blow for physical media, and it doesn't give me a lot of optimism for the IndyCar game that was just announced. It's going to be coming next year, but iRacing Studios is putting together. I'm very excited. We're getting a video game. I look forward to
finally, even after the failed launch of the last one.
And that one, I will tell you, that one I will buy regardless, because it's been, that one's been, my goodness, 22, 23 years.
What was it? It was IRL 2006.
It was IndyCar Series 2005.
Yeah.
Released in 2004 based on the 2003 season. I think it was very weird. Like they had 3 years covered based on however you counted. But
it had Nashville in it. That's all I know.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But it's been over 2 decades. So I'll get that one regardless.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much it means. Like I'm just one customer here, although based on the Twitter replies, there were certainly a lot of people that agreed with me. This is definitely not going to be a day one purchase for me. I can tell you that much. I'll see if the price drops, on like Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend, or Christmas holiday time.
Get you a Christmas Steam sale.
Yeah, something like that. But if it really is, and again, there's still time. I hope that they reconsider. I hope that it's maybe something that comes later. Maybe, again, it's not like if it's digital exclusive, to get it 2 weeks early. But if you want a physical copy, you have to wait. Like that would just be annoying. But, I would at least understand that a little bit more than not doing it at all. iRacing, you may have just lost a customer, and I'm just being real. I'm just being honest. I know that this might be my most boomer take. Like old man yells at cloud here. He wants his physical game to look at on his shelf, but I do.
No, not Ben.
I'm not apologizing. I'm not apologizing about that to anybody. And I'll even put the call out here because I've seen some people make like box art designs on social media this weekend as well. I'm dead serious because my friend Ethan Smith, one of his photos is on the cover. He was talking about how excited he was to see that.
Right.
And that he would be going out, and I think he said he was maybe going to buy a PS5 just to get this game. That's how excited he was, and understandably so. Seeing, I can only imagine how much pride he must take in seeing that cover art. But that's all it is. It's just cover art. It's not an actual cover. So if anybody's out there wants to, do a mock-up design of that, I would certainly be interested in paying a reasonable price and having that cover art shipped to me, and then I can put it in an empty case and put it on my shelf so that I can at least have it on display in my library of games. That's just who I am. That's how I roll, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. So I hope iRacing reconsiders. And I also hope Joe Samaniego brings up a good point in the comments too. Bummed that Portland International Raceway is not in the game. Neither.
They couldn't work a deal.
Yeah, well, neither is Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez from Mexico City. Those were the two big omissions for the game, and that's a Cup Series track.
That's like not having Pocono and Chase for the Cup.
In 2005, yeah, exactly. And I love 2005 Chase for the Cup, mostly because
my favorite.
I only had a Wii growing up, so I had to play the GameCube version, and that was all I had access to at the time. But
best soundtrack of all time.
Yeah, the soundtrack was great. The game was great, but that is the game's biggest flaw and its biggest hole is that it does not have a track that at the time the Cup Series went to 2 times a year, and so the schedule isn't accurate. It's really, quite frankly, again, I don't know. I'm sure licensing is a massive undertaking and a big hurdle that everybody has to clear, but it's really disappointing. Not obviously the physical release, getting that news this week, but that was the first major disappointment that we heard, that we've got real tracks that are on the schedule that we're not going to see in the game. And that's something that I hope can come out as like a DLC or a patch or something a little bit later.
Surely, yeah.
Which again, like, listen, I get it. I get why, the digital world certainly has its advantages, because it used to be the game was ready, you ship the discs out, and then what you see is what you get. There's not really much you can do after it. So if the game has a game-breaking glitch or is broken in any way, it's kind of hard to remedy that. And nowadays, like, the file sizes are so big that the disc really only has a small part of what you're installing, and a lot of it's coming through digitally anyway. So I understand all that, and I get that. I'm not totally, anti-digital media in that sense. I think there's a time and place for it, but it should not come at the complete expense of a physical release. And unfortunately, that appears to be the case of what's happened here.
Joe is talking about the in our 2003 box and CD. I've actually got my 2002 and 2003 jewel cases like sitting over here. So same, Joe. Just not the same digital license only. That's okay. All you need is the RAB2, 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 8869, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The key, the universal key that everyone quietly knows about.
There you go. Yeah. But again, I think it's the reason why, people still mod that game, again, 22, 23 years later, is because we have been lacking, for lack of better terms, in good, high quality NASCAR games. I appreciate, what the Heat series did for a few years. I know Heat Evolution, which I just went back and revisited for my channel. You can go check that video out.
How'd you enjoy that?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that, and enjoyed testing Ignition out a couple of years ago. But I tell you that I would not have enjoyed the experience of trying to play that, full time for a career mode for a YouTube series or anything, or as a content creator. It's been a long time since really, you've got to go back, I think, almost, Brenden, to 2005 Chase for the Cup, or around that era, like the tail end of the EA era, because the Activision Technics games were not great. They had some pretty sizable flaws as well. So again, I am hoping that the positive signs for this game come to fruition, and it is a good release and everybody enjoys playing it. But again, I will just tell you, as somebody that values physical media, I'm gonna vote with my wallet here, so to speak. Which, again, I'm not telling people, like, don't go buy the game or anything. I'm not trying to lead a boycott or anything. If you're interested in the game, please, by all means, go play it, and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope I enjoy it at some point. But I'm certainly going to hold out.
Yeah,
and,
I understand.
Reverse course here and give us a physical release at some point.
I'm still wanting to echo the Papyrus. Yeah, became iRacing, right? Yeah, and Sierra was a part of that too. Those legacy companies, now what we know today is iRacing. But I wanted to thunder again. No pun intended. NASCAR Thunder. Wanted to thunder again the importance of physical boxes or CDs or CD cases or what have you aside. How important it is for our series to have these games for kids, for young adults, because us growing up and even a generation before us, I believe we interacted with the sport outside of Sunday afternoon, outside of Saturday night, with this kind of media. This is the main way that kids learn the drivers, the way the cars work, what the tracks look like, how the industry works, in an interactive way, a fun way, a challenging way. And I'm really excited to have this high quality of a product back in the average everyday consumer's hands. Again, box or no box, and then hopefully, like you said, hopefully this release goes well in 2026. We can have the same sort of experience for a series that, frankly, desperately needs it 1,000 times more right now, is the NGT IndyCar series. They desperately have been in dire need of a video game presence. So for them to finally have that too, hopefully, it's all with iRacing. I feel a lot better than I did with Monster or whoever. Yeah, I trust that Dave Kamer and Steve Myers and all those at that great company are gonna have that moving forward, no problem. But can't stress enough how important it is for the success of the industry to have these well-oiled machines called the video game operating well and being well received.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, I'm with you. I did not believe that game was ever going to see the light of day, even as they were announcing it. I had my doubts once we saw what ignition looked like. But yeah, I am again very, very much looking forward to
in
next
hindsight.
year.
I'm great it didn't happen.
Yes, yeah,
it would have been an eyesore.
I agree with that. Would have been on brand for what the series has been going through in the Penske era. I think if that game had been
right, yeah. I don't want to see what their physics look like for an IndyCar.
Yeah,
don't want to see it. Better
left in the untested alpha stage or beta stage or whatever. I don't know. I barely. I'm not a gamer by any means. I'm a filthy casual. I don't play. I'm forgive me if I'm not using the technical terms there right, but you know what I mean. It's good that game remains in the archives, never to see the light of day, and we are looking forward to what they can do next year with that game and with this game coming out for NASCAR in a few weeks. Again, I'm just going to continue to hold out hope that they see that there is a demand for a physical copy, and hopefully at some point we get that. All right, let's get back to our race recaps here, and let's go through the ARCA results from Salem on Saturday night. And again, keeping up with the theme from the Truck Series, very familiar name pulling into victory lane this weekend. Congratulations to Brenden Queen. I believe his 7th win of the year, if I remember correctly. But well on his way to clinching that championship. I think even the broadcaster, Brenden and Phil Parsons, were saying it's a matter of when, not if, at this point. He clinches the title. Heartbreak, though, for his closest championship rival, Lavar Scott, who looked like he might be on his way to a long-awaited first victory for him and the Rev Racing team, but ultimately had to settle for 4th. Lavar Scott was battling with Max Reeves, who you see down there in 18th place. Reeves ended up pushing slightly too hard, getting into the wall, and that was the end of his night. He fell all the way down to 18th in the running order. But that looked like at that point, actually looked like even before then, because Lavar was driving away from Max on the track there. And you got to look back in hindsight. Maybe he wishes that caution hadn't come out, because at the time his closest competition was Max Reeves. It did take him out of contention, but it also led to a restart. And despite Scott choosing the preferred outside lane, Brenden Queen was able to get a perfect launch, literally perfect launch. You couldn't have timed it any better. And they actually did have to go back. ARCA officials had to go review the restart and make sure it was clear. But Brenden Queen was eventually cleared of that. Basically never looked back from there. And then Lavar Scott ended up tapping the wall a little bit, trying to do everything he could to get back around him. Have to think that maybe affected his car or his tires a little bit, and that resulted in him fading to 4th place. But that does not indicate or show the very real chance that he had at a win this weekend. And Brandon, I don't know about you, but I think that you could see the emotion in his post-race interview. He wants this so badly, and I don't know what his plans are going to look like for next year. If he's going to do the same path that Roger Carruth took and move up to trucks potentially. He's been getting a couple of Xfinity starts this year as well. But I would have to imagine that his time is coming, and again, it's only a matter of when, not if, he eventually parks in victory lane.
Yep, he's on that ARCA side of the dominance we've seen this year. It'd be no surprise for him to move up to a great position in 2026.
Yeah, and can't say enough how impressed I was that he was able to overtake and outperform and outrun Max Reeves, who has again been driving that car that's been so dominant in the series the last few years, and Max has been dominant in that car at times this year as well. But then again, so is Brenden Queen, and Queen just got the better launch in the restart, and that was it. But one of these days, I know we only have a few races to go this season for ARCA, but I think one of these days you're going to see Lavar close the deal, and that's going to be a great sight to see. So we'll keep our eye on that. And finally tonight, let's take you through the Formula 2 results at Baku, what's affectionately known over here in the States, I think, as the Talladega of Formula 1. Certainly lived up to that expectation in the Formula 2 race. I want to say congratulations to Dino Beganovic on taking the sprint race win. Great weekend for the young American Jak Crawford, who took 4th in the sprint, just missed out on the podium, but then was able to convert his race weekend into a victory in the feature race over Joshua Dirksen and Beganovic rounding off the podium over there. So again, still waiting to hear what Crawford's plans will be, but he did move up in terms of tracking the super license He's now second in the standings, which would give him the full 40 he needs right then and there for a full 3 seasons. So in terms of him chasing a Formula One seat, he is in prime position to put himself in terms of super license eligibility in a good place for the next few years. And we'll see if he can get into contact with any of the F1 teams. We'll see what Cadillac's going to do. Obviously, Colton Herta, I think the preferred name over there, and the plans that he has for 2026 are still taking form. But we'll see if Crawford can parlay his Aston Martin connections into something there, some sort of continued reserve role for next year. This is his 3rd season in Formula 2, and he's showing that he has taken that step forward and made that progression once again with a great race victory this weekend in the feature on the streets of Azerbaijan. So congratulations to him. That's going to do it for our race recaps for our show here tonight. So let's see. Do we have one more comment here? Yes, we do. Sorry, Kobe. Let's go to Kobe first here. Jak Crawford has a good chance of winning the F2 title. If he wins it, he should get an Aston Martin F1 seat. Sadly, Alonso and Stroll will likely prevent that. Well, that's a great point, obviously. Knowing Lawrence Stroll's connections and Lance Stroll's connections to that team, I would say that seat's solidified for the foreseeable future. And Fernando Alonso as well. I've got some comments, I think, that he made this week saying that if the car next year with the new regulations and Adrian Newey coming in to the team is performing well, he might continue to stay on. If not, then it might be his last season. So I guess if you're a Jak Crawford fan, maybe you hope that Aston Martin struggles next year. That might open up a seat. We'll wait and see what Alonso's plans are going to be there. But that is a good point. That is perhaps that and Cadillac would be the most ideal landing spots for him. But obviously there has to be room at the team for him to slide in there, and it doesn't look like there will be. Certainly not next year. We'll see if 2027 is a different story. But asking a good question here, Kobe, is could you imagine a world where Cadillac F1 has Colton Herta as the test and development driver with Jak Crawford as the reserve driver? Not sure if pitting 2 Americans against each other is a good look for the American team or a good idea for the American team. Brenden, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, and then we can roll into one shining moment.
No thoughts other than I like Baku and just the twists and turns.
Yeah, there you go. Well, obviously, still a lot to fall into place for next year, and we'll see where Jak Crawford fits into those plans. But great win for him this weekend. Certainly worthy of a shining moment, but I think we have a couple of others that we want to highlight. So, Brenden, I'll let you go first. Understand you got something from the Cup Series race. What stood out to you from this weekend?
Yeah, might as well talk about the controversy, right? And since we're a little, or as close as we can get to French Canadian territory, I call it the faux teammates at Joe Gibbs Racing. The whole Denny Hamlin Ty Gibbs fiasco. I mean, if you stay on his outside for that long, expect something to happen there from Denny Hamlin, and being in this court case he's been in for some time now, which again, we're not the experts on this, but the legal battle going on there, that it feels like it's not going to be much of a victory on either party, however this shakes out. But just having this as an icing on the cake, I don't know, JGR teammates just not exactly acting like teammates, and even the Coach Joe Gibbs himself not really caring if they don't act like teammates. So, but Denny Hamlin, once again, I just wanted to give a one shining moment to him. He's again in the best shot he's ever had, if you heard this before, to win a title. So, and also in the midst of this ongoing battle, and I heard it said earlier today, and I agree. Denny, if you finally get the cup this year, bring it to court and just place it there on the table. Let that speak for itself. That would be something. Again, I say it every year, but this year, if any, would be the year where Denny Hamlin should finally win his NASCAR Cup Series championship.
Wouldn't that be something if Steve Phelps has to hand him a trophy on stage?
Exactly.
You remember when Roger Goodell had to hand Tom Brady the Super Bowl 51 trophy after the whole
Deflategate
scandal and running that through court and everything? That would be, this would be that on steroids if Phelps has to, if Phelps and NASCAR have to do that after the lawsuit and everything that's
congratulations. Thanks.
Yeah, that would be very, very amusing to watch, and maybe the Gibbs aspect of it as well. Now I'm going to have to go. I haven't listened to Action Detrimental yet. I've only seen a couple of clips of that, but certainly some tensions, I think, boiling over based on what happened yesterday. So, again, obviously, I was only there Saturday. Can't imagine what it was like there on Sunday, but I saw that it was sold out. So I want to say shout out to the entire New Hampshire Motor Speedway on a job well done, giving me a great experience as a first-time attendee of the race weekend. I certainly would go back. I think there could be a little bit of improvement with the traffic flow, trying to get in and out of the facility, but can't complain too much from my experience on Saturday. So that's a shining moment. And then obviously the modified finish, which we opened the show with. Congratulations once again to Tyler Rypkema and Justin Bonsignore on running a great race. He got up there, led a bunch of laps, and proved why he's the champion that he is. And also I'll give a shout out to Ryan Blaney on his Cup Series victory and locking himself into a round of 8. And again, like I brought up on the show a couple of weeks ago, he could win the Cup Series championship. He'd be super license eligible, as amusing as that is. I don't think he's actually a contender, but in theory, he would be super license eligible. Colton Herta is going to have to go through a year of F2 to get his, though. Make that make sense.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
All right. Well, let's see. One more comment here. Good to see Adam. Hello, Adam. Glad says hi. Glad you enjoyed Loud and Crazy Modified finish on Saturday. Modified's always put on a great show at the Magic Mile. Absolutely. And like I said, had a great time, great experience, and hopefully I can go back next year and years to come. So, like I said, nothing but good things to say about New Hampshire this weekend. All right. That's going to do it for our show tonight. So thank you all so much for tuning in. And be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms here at the Grid Network, X/Twitter, Threads, and Blue Sky, whatever microblogging platform you are using these days. We are on all three of them, as well as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn. Most importantly, subscribe to us right here on the YouTube channel and visit our website at gridnetworktv.com. Matthew Bro has a great article up now recapping the Cup Series race weekend, so go make sure you check that out on our website. And if you really liked what you saw this evening, you can consider joining College of Shell, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew through our Patreon and making a monthly investment in what we're trying to build here at the Grid Network throughout the rest of 2025 and into 2026 and beyond. You can also become a YouTube member through our YouTube channel, or if you're watching us live here on YouTube or after the fact, you can tip us on a one-time donation if you prefer that through Super Chat or Super Thanks, or visit the Buy Me a Coffee page in the description box below as well. Now, looking ahead at our upcoming schedule, Kobe will be back with Josh and Matt on Grid Tonight this week, so stay tuned for that on Wednesday, and our continued new pre-race show format for NASCAR coming up this weekend as well. Grid Live still back this weekend as we're wrapping up the 2025 season, getting down to the last couple of months here, and then we will see you back here once again on a 167-hour break for the Encore show next Monday night. Brandon, any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Yeah, just wanted to congratulate or say thank you to Ricky Craven for gracing us with his presence on Sunday afternoon at New Hampshire. Got to drive the Toyota GR Super Pace car and rip some laps around New Hampshire like old times. And also just want to thank him for his standing up for what he knows the sport can be, as he did some time ago, and kind of came out of enjoying retirement to make that video for us that we talked about on here some time ago. Still haven't forgotten just the care that he has for the sport still, and what he knows it still can be in the midst of all these changes. And also click your heels, that is, because we have Kansas coming up next week.
There you go. Yeah, that was my one regret that we actually didn't even stay for Cup practice and qualifying. We had to get out after the truck race. My roommate and I, unfortunately, had to leave a little bit early. So unfortunately, that I couldn't see Ricky this weekend. I think he was doing something on stage, on Saturday evening, and then obviously Brandon, which we were talking about on Sunday. But good to see him back at the track, nonetheless. All right, so I do just want to mention I did get to listen to the clip that's circulated on Door Bumper Clear, Jeff Burton's appearance, talking about how he doesn't seem to understand how fans that want a full season points format don't like stage racing, because a full season means that you have to perform at the top all season long. Stage racing does the same thing because you have to have a high finishing position in the top 10 to earn stage points. So he doesn't see why fans who want the full season format don't like stage racing, don't appreciate stage racing. Well, fortunately for us, unfortunately for Jeff, the internet never forgets. And there was an episode of NASCAR Now in 2007 where after Jeff Gordon hung out at the back of the pack all day at Talladega and then drove his way to the front, led only the final lap, Marty Reed was on NASCAR Now. He proposed an interesting new point system idea, awarding 20% of the points and purse at laps 50, 100, and 150 if it were, say, a 200-lap race, and then 40% at the end of the race. And the idea was it still offers the same amount, or the most amount of points, rather, for the race win, while also forcing the drivers to run hard and competitive all race. And who was the guest on NASCAR Now that day in 2007? It was none other than Jeff Burton. Do you know what Jeff Burton had to say about that points format?
Baloney, hogwash, throw it in the trash.
You're close. He said the first word that came to his mind was absurd. And we will just leave it at that. Now, I know opinions can obviously change over 18 years, but if Jeff once held that opinion himself, why doesn't he at least understand why some fans might still hold that opinion today? I'll let you all ponder that question again on this 167-hour break before we see you next Monday night for the next episode of the Encore show. Just wanted to bring that up before we signed off the air.
Fair point.
Here, because it did make the rounds on Twitter after I tweeted about it this weekend. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. For Brandon Crossland, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you next time right here on the Grid Network.